Welcome to the deep dive. You know, we like to plunge headfirst into a world of knowledge here,
Always exciting.
and today is no different. We're diving deep into a system that's been the secret weapon.
Oh, tell me more.
It's behind some pretty impressive success stories, actually.
I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Think Google,
Okay, yeah.
the Gates Foundation, and countless others.
Harry, you've got my attention. What's the secret weapon?
It's objectives and key results that are known as OKRs.
OKRs. Heard of them?
Our guide for this deep dive is John Doerr's Measure What Matters.
Oh, classic.
It's a book that's just jam-packed with real-world examples of how these OKRs can completely transform the way we work,
Yeah,
and frankly, just how we get things done.
I like it. So efficiency and effectiveness all rolled into one.
Exactly. By the end of this, you'll understand what OKRs are,
The what?
but you'll also be equipped to start putting them into practice yourself.
Ah, so the how as well.
Yes. And that's the beauty of OKRs. They're not just for tech giants or massive organizations.
Democratizing productivity. I like it.
They're a framework that can help anyone, literally anyone,
Oh, yeah.
achieve ambitious goals.
All right.
Whether it's launching a startup,
Bold.
writing a book,
Ambitious.
or even mastering a new skill.
The possibilities. Okay, I'm sold, but let's back up for a second. What are OKRs really all about at their core?
Okay, so before we get swept away by all the success stories, let's break it down. What are OKRs really all about?
Clarity.
Okay,
Measurability.
I like it.
They force you to answer two very fundamental questions. The first one is the what,
What do you want to achieve?
right? And the second is how.
How will you measure your progress towards that goal?
You got it.
So it's like you have the destination in mind,
Right.
and then you're mapping out the specific milestones
Yes.
you need to hit along the way.
Exactly. So the what, that's your objective.
The big audacious goal.
The big, hairy, audacious goal you're aiming for. And the how, that's broken down into key results, which are the measurable steps.
Concrete, measurable action steps.
Absolutely. No more vague aspirations, no more fuzzy intentions. This is about getting down to the nitty-gritty.
We're talking specifics.
Absolutely, you got it. Andy Grove, the former CEO of Intel,
Oh, yeah?
a pioneer in the world of OKRs, he had a great way of putting it. He said, and I quote, "The objective is the direction. Key results are milestones." He knew you can't just set a direction, hope for the best. You need concrete milestones to track your progress and stay on course.
This is already making so much sense, but I'm curious. So you've got a team, maybe a whole organization even.
Right.
How do you make sure that everybody is actually moving towards the same objective and key results?
So that's where the concept of cascading OKRs comes into play.
Cascading. Okay.
Think of it as almost like a chain reaction of aligned goals.
All right.
And it starts at the top, with the organization's overall objectives.
Okay.
Then those objectives are translated into key results.
Got it.
For the different departments or teams.
And then those key results become objectives for smaller teams or even individuals.
Precisely.
So it's all connected.
Yes. Doerr actually illustrates this beautifully with an analogy of a fictional football team called the Sand Hill Unicorns.
Okay, I like it.
So the general manager's objective, that might be to make money for the owner,
Right?
which then translates into the coach's objective.
To win the Super Bowl.
Exactly. And then the coach's key results, like building a strong offense or a strong defense, they become objectives for the respective coordinators.
Ah, I see. So it's like this chain reaction of focused effort where everyone understands how their work contributes to the team winning.
It's about connecting those dots between those individual actions and the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Everybody, from that star quarterback to the equipment manager, they know how their role plays into the team's success.
I love it. Okay, so we've got our objectives and our key results all neatly cascaded
Cascaded, yes.
throughout the organization. But how do OKRs actually translate into real-world results? What makes them so effective?
That's where the four superpowers of OKRs come in. They're like the secret sauce that transforms, aspirations
Into achievements.
into achievements.
Okay, give me the superpower rundown.
First up, we've got focus.
Okay.
OKRs really force you to prioritize and commit to those goals that truly matter.
Yeah.
Think of it like a laser beam cutting through all those distractions, and it just illuminates the path to success.
No more getting bogged down in just busy work, chasing shiny objects. It's laser focus on what will actually make a difference.
Exactly. And one of the most compelling examples of this has to be how Google used OKRs to actually achieve their ambitious mission
Which was?
to organize the world's information.
That's pretty big. That's a pretty audacious goal, especially back when Google was just a scrappy little startup.
It was. But Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Google's founders, they were determined to make their vision a reality. And they understood that writing it down, making it real, tangible, making it something you can see, it was the first step.
So instead of just dreaming about organizing the world's information, they put pen to paper.
They did.
They turned those dreams into concrete objectives and key results.
Exactly. And by focusing relentlessly on those objectives and key results, they were able to create these products that we use every single day, you know?
Yeah.
Google search, Gmail.
Billion-plus users each.
Each.
That's what I call impact.
Impact indeed.
I have to ask, though, wasn't there a temptation to get distracted by all sorts of other, I don't know, shiny projects, shiny ideas?
Of course. But that's where the power of focus comes in. Doerr actually describes how Google's leadership, they would ruthlessly prioritize their OKRs, you know, making sure that everybody in the company, they understood the most important goals for the quarter.
Yeah.
And this focus, combined with that transparent nature of OKRs, it fostered a culture of shared commitment and accountability at Google.
So it wasn't just about, like, setting the goals.
Right.
It was about creating a shared understanding of what actually mattered most.
You got it.
Aligning everybody's efforts towards achieving those goals.
Precisely. And this brings us to the second superpower of OKRs, alignment.
Alignment. Okay, let's unpack that.
Well, you know, we've already talked about how cascading OKRs create that chain reaction of aligned goals throughout an organization, right?
Right.
But alignment goes beyond just having goals that are connected on paper.
Deeper than that.
It's about creating a shared understanding of those goals and fostering a sense of ownership and accountability across teams and even individuals.
So it's not enough to just say, like, okay, these are our goals, now go make it happen. It's about ensuring that everyone understands those goals, buys into them, and feels empowered to contribute to their achievement.
Absolutely. When everyone's rowing in the same direction and they can actually see the destination, it creates a sense of collective purpose and momentum. And that can be so powerful.
Absolutely, yeah.
Doerr highlights MyFitnessPal. It's a popular health and fitness app.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
They used OKRs to align their teams during a period of really rapid growth.
Makes sense.
This was after they were acquired by Under Armour.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, they faced this big challenge of integrating different teams and ensuring that everyone was working, you know, towards those same goals.
I bet.
And OKRs, they provided the framework for actually achieving that alignment.
Especially for companies that are experiencing rapid growth.
Right.
Or maybe going through some sort of major transition.
Exactly, yeah.
It's so easy for teams to become siloed, or for individuals to lose sight of that bigger picture.
Right, they lose sight.
But OKRs can help break down those silos and just make sure that everybody is working in sync.
They provide a shared language and a framework for collaboration.
Yeah.
And they really create this culture of transparency where everybody knows what others are working on and how their efforts connect back to that overall mission.
I like it. And everybody's on the same page.
You got it. But here's where it gets even more interesting, you know. OKRs also emphasize this importance of clear accountability.
Okay.
Even when multiple teams have related goals, each OKR should have a single owner, someone who's ultimately responsible for its success or, well, its failure.
So it's not just shared responsibility, it's also about individual ownership and accountability.
Exactly. That's crucial for driving progress and achieving ambitious goals.
Yeah. Because you always know where the buck stops.
It ensures that everyone's pulling their weight and that there's no ambiguity about who's responsible for what. And it brings us to the third superpower of OKRs, tracking.
Okay. Tracking. This sounds crucial. How do OKRs actually help us stay on track and, I don't know, actually measure our progress toward our goals?
That's where the key results part of that equation really comes into play.
Okay.
Remember, key results, they need to be measurable, something that you can definitively assess at the end of a cycle. This allows those teams, those individuals, to actually monitor their progress and to identify those areas where they might be falling behind or maybe even exceeding those expectations.
So it's like a built-in dashboard for your goals.
Exactly.
I like it.
And Doerr highlights how the Gates Foundation uses OKRs to track progress towards these ambitious goals, like eradicating malaria.
Ambitious is right.
Even though they're such a massive organization with a global reach, they still rely rely on OKRs
Wow.
to break down those complex challenges into manageable, trackable steps.
Okay, so we've seen how OKRs can help these tech giants, these nonprofits,
Yeah.
even football teams achieve their goals.
The Sandhill Unicorns.
But what about that fourth superpower you mentioned, stretch? What does it mean to stretch in the context of OKRs?
So this is where things get particularly exciting. Stretch goals, or aspirational OKRs, they're all about
Pushing the limits.
beyond what seems comfortably achievable,
Okay.
challenging those teams, those individuals to think bigger, to aim for those outcomes that might seem impossible at first glance.
So instead of setting goals we know we can hit,
Yeah,
we're aiming for something that feels just a little bit out of reach.
exactly.
I like it.
Doerr highlights Google's culture, which embraces 10x thinking,
10x thing.
setting goals that are 10 times bigger
Wow.
than what initially seems feasible.
10 times bigger. That's ambitious.
It is, but it's that kind of audacious thinking that led to those groundbreaking innovations like Gmail's massive storage capacity.
Which disrupted the email world. Yeah.
Completely disrupted.
Yeah.
It's what allowed YouTube to set that seemingly impossible goal of 1 billion hours
Oof.
daily watch time.
Okay, hold on. 1 billion hours. That's a lot of cat videos. How did they even come up with that number?
Well, you're going to have to wait for part 2 of our deep dive to find out.
Okay. All right, I'm hooked. But for now, let's just take a moment to reflect. We've covered a lot of ground.
A lot of ground.
In this first part of our deep dive, we explored the basic concept of OKRs. We delved into their 4 superpowers, focus, alignment, tracking, and stretch.
Yes.
And we've seen how these principles have been applied in such diverse contexts.
Very diverse.
From Google's quest to organize the world's information to the Gates Foundation's efforts to eradicate disease.
Ambitious stuff.
But we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to uncover. So until next time, I encourage you to start thinking about your own what's and how's.
The what's and the how's.
What are the objectives you're striving for, and what are the key results that will actually guide you towards achieving them?
I like it.
We'll be back soon to delve deeper into the world of OKRs and explore how they can be implemented effectively and ethically. So stay tuned.
Can't wait.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're right in the thick of exploring OKRs. And last time, we left off with a bit of a cliffhanger.
We did. Do you remember what it was?
I believe it was the story of YouTube's pretty audacious goal to reach 1 billion hours of daily watch time.
That's right. A goal that, at the time, seemed almost impossible.
It did.
So, picture it. 2012. YouTube's already a major player, in the online video world. But it was facing this bit of a slowdown in innovation. And that's when Susan Wojcicki, she steps in as CEO. And she inherits this goal to increase watch time tenfold within 4 years.
Tenfold? That's massive. That's like taking something already huge and just supersizing it. How did they even begin to tackle something that big?
Well, they realized that they needed to shift their focus.
Okay.
Up until that point, YouTube had been primarily focused on maximizing views.
Okay.
So the number of times a video was clicked on.
Right. But views don't necessarily reflect whether people are actually watching the content, right?
Exactly. You could have a video that gets a ton of clicks, but people are only watching for a few seconds before clicking away.
Yeah. Like those clickbait titles.
Exactly.
Which are so annoying.
Doesn't tell you much about the quality of the content. Doesn't tell you if it's resonating with those viewers.
No, not at all.
So Susan Wojcicki and her team, they made this pretty bold decision. They decided to prioritize watch time as their primary metric.
Okay.
Watch time actually reflects how long people are actually spending watching those videos, which is a much better indicator of engagement and satisfaction.
It's like the difference between judging a book by its cover and actually reading it to see if you enjoy the story, right?
That's a great analogy. And this shift in focus from views to watch time, it was a crucial first step in achieving that 1 billion hour goal.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't just about changing a metric.
It was deeper than that.
It was about changing the entire way that YouTube thought about its platform and its relationship with its users.
So it was a fundamental shift in their philosophy.
Absolutely. They realized that if they wanted to achieve truly meaningful growth, they needed to create a platform that wasn't just entertaining, but also valuable and engaging for those users.
I like it.
They needed to prioritize quality over quantity and really focus on building a community where people felt connected to the content and, I'd say even more importantly, to each other.
So it's like they were moving away from, I don't know, this fast food model of online video.
Yeah.
towards something more like, I don't know, maybe a gourmet dining
Yeah,
experience,
I like that.
where it's more about quality ingredients, thoughtful preparation, a more satisfying
Oh,
experience.
I love that analogy. This shift in philosophy, though, required some tough decisions.
Okay.
For example, they decided to stop recommending those clickbait-style videos. You know, the ones that might drive views.
Yeah, but don't really offer much.
They don't offer a fulfilling viewing experience.
So they were willing to sacrifice those short-term gains for the sake of that long-term value.
Exactly.
That's bold.
And it wasn't easy. Initially, this decision, it actually led to a dip in watch time.
Really?
But they held firm. They believed that it was the right thing to do for their users. And their conviction, I gotta say, paid off.
It did.
Within a few months, the watch time in those categories, it rebounded and it even increased,
Yeah.
showing that those users were responding positively to the higher quality content being recommended.
It's a reminder that sometimes you have to take a step back in order to move forward.
Yes.
And that prioritizing the user experience can ultimately lead to greater success.
Right. Playing the long game. And speaking of long games, YouTube's journey to 1 billion hours of daily watch time. It was a multi-year effort.
Yeah.
They didn't just hit their goal overnight, you know?
Yeah.
They established this 4-year plan with annual objectives and quarterly key results.
So they broke down this massive goal
Yeah.
into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they were relentless in their pursuit of those key results.
So tracking their progress, making adjustments.
Making adjustments along the way, yes.
Celebrating milestones as they hit them.
Yes, celebrating. It wasn't always easy, you know.
Sure.
Doerr mentions that there was actually some skepticism
Correct.
within Google about the feasibility of this goal.
I bet.
But YouTube's leadership, they stayed the course. They believed in their vision and in the power of OKRs to guide their efforts.
Inspiring.
Yeah.
To see that level of commitment and determination, they didn't let doubt or skepticism derail them from their vision, and ultimately, their persistence paid off.
It paid off big time. They actually achieved that 1 billion hour goal ahead of schedule.
Get out.
I know. A testament to the power of setting bold goals, aligning those teams, and just relentlessly tracking progress.
What a story. But it wasn't just about hitting that magic number, right?
Right.
What were some of the lasting impacts of this journey?
You know, that's a great question. The journey was just as important as the destination.
I like it.
You know, YouTube made some significant changes to its platform, to its philosophy along the way, and those changes, they ultimately led to a stronger platform, a more engaged user base, and just a greater sense of purpose within that organization.
So OKRs weren't just this tool for achieving a specific goal. They were actually a catalyst for positive change throughout the entire organization.
Precisely. And it's interesting to note that by the time they reached that 1 billion hour milestone, YouTube, they'd already started to evolve their thinking about what mattered most. While watch time, it had been a valuable metric, they realized that it didn't fully capture the, the richness of that user experience.
They were constantly evaluating and refining their approach.
Exactly. Recognizing that the world of online video, it's constantly evolving.
Always changing.
And they needed to adapt. So they began to explore, these additional factors like user satisfaction, content quality, social responsibility. It's a reminder that even those most effective metrics, they might need to be revisited, refined as an organization's priorities, and just the landscape evolve.
So OKRs are not about rigidly adhering to, this set of numbers. It's about using them as this framework for continuous learning and improvement.
Right. Helping you set ambitious goals, align those efforts, track that progress, and ultimately achieve those remarkable outcomes.
They can also be such a powerful tool for shaping a company's culture. Right?
Yes.
Creating this more transparent, accountable, and purpose-driven environment.
Absolutely.
So far, we focused a lot on these big companies like Google, YouTube, how they've used OKRs.
Right.
But what about the rest of us? How can we, mere mortals, apply these principles to our own work, our own personal lives?
That's a great question, and it's something we're going to delve deeper into in the next part of our deep dive.
Right.
But I can tell you this. The principles of OKRs, they're just as relevant for those individuals as they are for large organizations.
That's good to hear.
Whether you're, working on this personal project, starting a business, or just trying to improve some specific aspect of your life, OKRs can provide this framework for setting those clear goals, tracking your progress, and achieving amazing things.
Okay, I am so excited to learn more about that. But before we move on to these practical applications,
Right.
I want to swing back to something we talked about a little bit earlier, the concept of OKR hygiene. What does that mean, and why is it important?
So OKR hygiene, it's all about keeping your OKRs healthy and effective.
Okay.
It's making sure that they're focused, measurable, and actionable. And it's about avoiding those common pitfalls that can, derail your progress.
So it's kind of like personal hygiene, but for your goals.
You got it. And just like with personal hygiene, good OKR hygiene, it requires a little bit of discipline, a little bit of attention to detail.
Yeah.
But the payoff, worth it.
I bet.
When your OKRs are well maintained, they can be incredibly powerful tools for achieving success.
So what are some of the key principles of this whole OKR hygiene thing?
Well, one of the most important principles, I would say, is focus. Andy Grove.
Okay.
Famously, he advocated for limiting yourself to 3 to 5 objectives per cycle each, with no more than 5 key results.
So it's about quality over quantity, choosing the goals that truly matter, and then just focusing all your energy on actually achieving them.
Exactly. When you have too many objectives, it can be difficult to prioritize,
Yeah.
track your progress.
Right.
It can lead to a sense of overwhelm, a sense of distraction.
Too much. Yeah.
So the first step in good OKR hygiene, you got to be ruthless in your prioritization. Choose those objectives that will have the greatest impact, and then, focus all your energy on achieving them.
Okay. Focus. Makes sense. What else? What else is important for maintaining those healthy OKRs?
Another key principle, measurability.
Okay.
Your key results. They need to be quantifiable, something that you can track and measure objectively.
So instead of saying, I want to improve my writing skills, you might say, I want to publish 1 article per month.
Exactly. Much more measurable, much more actionable key result.
Sure.
And it gives you that clear target, measurability. Crucial for accountability.
Right.
When you have those clear, measurable targets, it's easier to track who's responsible for what, to identify those areas where maybe course correction might be needed.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about goals that are more, I don't know, maybe subjective
Right.
or difficult to quantify?
Right.
Like improving your communication skills,
Right.
becoming a better leader.
So that's where creativity comes in.
Okay.
Even with those subjective goals, you can find ways to measure your progress.
Okay.
For example, if your objective is to improve your communication skills, you might set a key result of, attending 1 public speaking workshop per quarter, or giving 1 presentation a month, or if you want to be a better leader, you might set a key result of having those regular one-on-one meetings with your team members.
Yeah.
And soliciting feedback on your leadership style.
So even with goals that are difficult to quantify, you can still find ways to break them down into those measurable steps.
Absolutely. The key is to be thoughtful, intentional in your approach. Think carefully. What do you want to achieve? And then, find those creative ways to measure your progress toward that goal.
Okay, this is incredibly helpful. I'm already starting to think about how I can apply these principles to my own goals. But before we get too carried away with our own OKR journeys, I want to make sure we cover one more important aspect of this whole OKR hygiene thing, regular check-ins.
Ah, yes. Regular check-ins, they're essential for staying on track, making those adjustments along the way.
Okay.
They provide an opportunity to review your progress, to identify those roadblocks, and to make course corrections as needed.
So it's not enough to just set your OKRs at the beginning of the quarter.
Right.
And then just forget about them until the end.
No.
You've got to constantly be checking in.
You got to create that system of regular check-ins, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. These check-ins, they should be those opportunities for discussion, feedback, and course correction. They should involve everybody who's working on those objectives and key results.
It's like having a feedback loop built in.
Yes.
To make sure you're on course, you're making progress toward your goals.
Precisely. And the frequency, of those check-ins, it will depend on the nature of those goals and just the pace of the work.
Right.
But the important thing, we got to establish that rhythm that works for your team.
And stick to it.
You got it.
This is all so insightful. I'm starting to see how OKR hygiene is not just about following a set of rules.
Yeah.
It's about creating a culture of accountability, communication, and just continuous improvement.
You've hit the nail on the head. Good OKR hygiene. It's about integrating OKRs into the fabric of how you work.
Yeah.
Using them as that guidepost for making those decisions.
Yeah.
Allocating those resources. And ultimately, achieving those goals.
I like it.
And it's something we'll continue to explore as we, dive deeper into the world of OKRs.
This has been fantastic. Just this whole deep dive into the power and the potential of OKRs. We've explored how they can be used to achieve these ambitious goals, drive organizational change, and foster a culture of focus, alignment, and accountability.
Absolutely.
But the journey doesn't end here.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how OKRs actually intersect with company culture
Yeah.
and how they can be implemented, effectively, ethically.
How?
So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll uncover even more insights from John Doerr's Measure What Matters. Until then, keep learning,
Yes.
keep exploring, and keep striving for those goals that matter most.
And get ready to unlock your own potential for achieving some pretty amazing things.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite the journey,
We have
exploring the world of OKRs.
all those ambitious goals.
Ambitious goal-setting systems.
Yeah.
The ones that have fueled the success of companies like Google,
Yeah.
YouTube, countless others.
So many examples.
We've uncovered their 4 superpowers: focus, alignment, tracking, and stretch.
That's quite the arsenal.
And we've seen how those superpowers can drive clarity, accountability, and some remarkable achievements.
It's incredible what they can do.
But John Doerr's book, Measure What Matters, it goes beyond just, outlining the mechanics of OKRs.
It does. It does.
It dives into their impact on company culture,
Which is so important.
something that's often overlooked, but incredibly important.
Absolutely.
It's true. OKRs aren't just a tool for setting and achieving goals.
Right.
They can actually shape the very fabric of an organization's culture.
I completely agree.
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
So how exactly do OKRs influence company culture?
One of the key ways is through transparency. Remember how we talked about that cascading nature of OKRs, where everyone's goals are visible from, all the way down
To individual contributors.
to individual contributor.
Yeah, it's like a shared roadmap
It is.
for the entire organization.
Exactly. This transparency creates a culture of openness and accountability.
I like it.
When everyone knows what's expected of them and how their work contributes to that bigger picture, it fosters this sense of ownership and this shared purpose.
So everyone's rowing in the same direction.
Yes.
And they can see the destination.
Precisely. And that shared understanding.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Doerr highlights how OKRs, they actually helped create a culture of transparency and collaboration at Google,
Oh, good.
which, it's been instrumental
Of course.
in the company's success.
So transparency is a key ingredient. What else contributes to this, culture-shaping effect?
Feedback, another crucial aspect.
Yeah.
OKRs, they encourage regular check-ins and conversations, about progress,
Yeah.
which creates that culture of continuous feedback and improvement.
So it's not just about setting goals,
Right.
waiting till the end of the quarter
No.
and seeing if you hit them. It's about that ongoing dialogue, those adjustments along the way.
Exactly. Doerr, he emphasizes this importance of creating a safe space for feedback,
Yeah.
where people, they feel comfortable sharing those challenges,
Yeah.
celebrating successes, learning from, each other's experiences.
That makes sense. It creates a culture where people feel empowered to speak up, to share ideas, to learn from their mistakes. But doesn't all this focus on goals and metrics create a high-pressure environment?
It can, especially, if OKRs are implemented poorly.
Right.
Doerr cautions against creating this culture of fear or
Right.
excessive pressure,
Nobody wants that.
where people, they feel like they're constantly being judged, based solely on their ability to just hit these targets.
Yeah, yeah. So it's about finding that balance between ambition and a healthy work environment.
Exactly. And that's where, leadership, they play a crucial role.
Of course.
Leaders need to set the tone to really emphasize that OKRs are a tool for growth and improvement,
Okay.
not a weapon for punishment.
Yeah, yeah. It's about celebrating the progress,
Mm.
learning from those setbacks,
Yes,
fostering that culture of continuous learning.
it really is.
It seems like OKRs can be a double-edged sword.
Right.
If implemented poorly,
Yeah.
they can create this toxic culture
Yes.
of stress and fear.
Stress and fear.
But if done right, they can be this powerful force for positive change,
They can.
driving transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement.
You've hit the nail on the head. Doerr shares this compelling example of how Zoom Pizza,
Doom pizza.
company that uses robots to make pizza.
Hold on. Robots making pizza.
I know.
That sounds like science fiction.
It is pretty futuristic.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting. Zoom's founders, Julia Collins and Alex Garden, they believe that serving food to people is a sacred trust. And they've actually incorporated that belief into their company's OKRs.
So it's not just about maximizing profits.
Right.
Or even delivering pizzas quickly.
No, it's about doing so in a way that aligns with their values.
I like it.
Precisely. Their OKRs, they reflect their commitment to quality, sustainability, treating their employees with respect.
So they're really putting their money where their mouth is.
They are. It's a great example of how OKRs can be used to reinforce a company's mission and those values, creating a culture that's aligned with those core principles.
Okay, I'm starting to see how OKRs can be more than just,
More than that.
this goal-setting framework.
Yes.
They can actually be this powerful tool
They can.
for shaping a company's culture, reinforcing its values.
Absolutely.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've learned so much about OKRs,
We have.
from those 4 superpowers to their impact on culture.
What?
Before we wrap up, I'm curious, are there any common pitfalls we should be aware of when implementing OKRs?
That's a great question. And Doerr dedicates a whole section of the book to addressing these common OKR traps.
Okay.
He outlines 7 key traps to avoid.
Okay. 7 traps, lay 'em on me.
Okay. So the first one, it's the set it and forget it trap.
Set it and forget it trap.
This refers to the mistake of, setting OKRs at the beginning of a cycle
Okay.
and then neglecting them until the very end.
It's like making a New Year's resolution
Yeah.
and then completely forgetting about it by February.
Exactly. Doerr, he emphasizes, that OKRs should be these living documents, revisited, discussed regularly
To make sure.
to make sure that they remain relevant and aligned with the organization's priorities.
So it's about making them part of your ongoing workflow, not just this one-time exercise.
Yes. And the second trap, the busy business trap.
Busy business trap. Okay.
It's very closely related.
Okay.
It highlights this danger of getting so caught up,
Yeah.
in those day-to-day tasks that you actually lose sight of your strategic objectives.
It's like that saying, when you're up to your neck in alligators, it's hard to remember your initial objective was to drain the swamp.
Oh, I love that. And that's precisely why OKRs are so important. They
Mhm.
provide this framework for staying focused on your goals, even amidst,
The chaos.
the chaos of daily life.
Okay. All right, what about the next trap? The bottom-up OKR trap.
So this trap cautions against relying solely on bottom-up goal setting,
Okay.
where individual contributors set their own OKRs without any connection to the organization's overall objectives.
So it's not about everyone doing their own thing. It's about making sure that those individual efforts are aligned with the company's strategic direction.
Exactly. Doerr, he emphasizes that while bottom-up input, it's valuable.
Right.
It needs to be balanced with that top-down guidance
To make sure.
to ensure everyone is working, toward those same overarching goals.
It's about finding that sweet spot between individual initiative and organizational alignment.
Yes.
What about trap number 4, the sandbox OKR trap?
This trap highlights this danger of creating OKRs that don't actually have, any real impact on the business, the user experience.
So it's not just about setting goals for the sake of setting goals.
Mm-hmm.
It's about choosing objectives that truly matter.
Precisely.
Okay.
Doerr advises asking the simple question, could this OKR get a 1.0? Meaning it's fully achieved, without providing any tangible benefit to our users or the business. If the answer is yes, then it's time to rethink that OKR.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. It's about making sure that your OKRs are meaningful.
Yes.
Impactful.
Impactful.
Aligned with your overall priorities.
You got it. And that brings us to trap number 5, the no stretch OKR trap.
No stretch OKR trap.
This trap cautions against, setting goals that are too easily achievable, failing to challenge those teams, those individuals, to really push beyond their comfort zone.
So it's about embracing those stretch goals, those audacious targets.
Yes, that might seem impossible at first.
Yes.
But have the potential to drive these incredible breakthroughs.
Incredible breakthroughs.
Like YouTube with their 1 billion hour watch time goal.
Exactly. Doerr, he emphasizes that, setting those ambitious goals, it's crucial for fostering innovation and growth.
Yeah.
He believes that even if you don't fully achieve those stretch goals, that process
Yeah.
of striving for them. It can lead to those valuable insights and those unexpected outcomes.
Shoot for the moon.
Yes.
Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars.
I love that. And that's the spirit of OKRs. To aim high, to push beyond what seems possible, to embrace that journey of growth and discovery along the way.
Okay, we're down to the last two traps.
Last two.
What is the fuzzy OKR trap?
This trap warns against using vague, ambiguous language in your OKRs.
So no wishy-washy statements?
No.
Or goals that are open to interpretation?
No way. Doerr stresses the importance of those clear, measurable key results.
He believes that if you can't definitively assess whether a key result has been achieved or not, it's not a good key result.
Got it. Clarity, measurability, a focus on tangible outcomes.
You're getting it. And the final trap, insufficient KRs for committed Os.
Okay.
This one cautions against having too few key results for those objectives that must be achieved.
So it's like having a recipe, with some missing ingredients.
Yeah.
You might end up with something that, I don't know, resembles the intended dish, but it's not quite right.
That's a great analogy. And that's why it's crucial to have enough key results, each of them specific and measurable, to ensure you have all those necessary ingredients for achieving that objective.
Wow, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of OKRs.
I agree.
We've explored their 4 superpowers, their impact on company culture, and even the common pitfalls to avoid.
We covered it all.
But as we wrap up, I'm left wondering, is there a single key takeaway from Measure What Matters that we can apply to our own lives, whether we're leading a team, working on a project, or simply striving to achieve a personal goal?
That's a great question. And I think the most powerful takeaway is the importance of clarity, focus, and alignment. OKRs, they provide this framework for identifying what truly matters, setting those ambitious goals, and then breaking those goals down into manageable, measurable steps. But it's not just about the mechanics,
It's deeper than that.
It's about the mindset. It's about embracing a culture of transparency, accountability, continuous improvement.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that the journey, it is just as important as that destination. And even setbacks, they can be those valuable learning experiences.
It's about measuring what matters.
Exactly. I think that's a principle we can all apply to our own lives, regardless of our roles or aspirations. It's about identifying our own whats and hows. Setting our sights high and then just taking those consistent, measurable steps towards achieving those goals.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I challenge you, our listeners, to consider what matters most to you.
What matters most?
What are your objectives? What are the key results that will guide you towards achieving them? Perhaps it's time to embark on your own OKR journey.
Yes.
And see where it takes you. You might just surprise yourself with what you can achieve.
You never know.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep striving for those goals that matter most.